good morning, or actually whenever you see it, good day. This is Melinda at A Web of Stories, and I'm here with my weekly wrap-up. Take 2. I already messed up the first one so bad I had to start over. Disclaimer, you may hear background noise in this one. My kids are home from school, so there may be some extra noise, and also the cat is being demanding, so you may hear yowling. I cannot control either of those things. But because, you look at that. So I got like my lipstick on this, right? Look at my new mug. My husband got me this for my birthday. It's my Agatha Christie mug. You'll probably see it again in many videos. This was a week. What a week. If you saw my video last week, you knew I was sick. I did not have COVID. I am better, although I still have a little bit of that lingering stuff you have with the cold. It was just one of those colds that is the first cold you get in a really long time, and it just wipes you out. That's it. But I was over that by Tuesday, which is when I went to the doctor just for my annual exam, not because I was sick. And because I have hit the half-century mark, I knew that there were some different things that kind of changed. And one of the things was I knew that I had to get a shingle shot. So I was talking to the doctor about it, and she's like, I highly recommend it, but it is kind of a hard shot. It's a series of 2 shots, and you do tend to have a really sore arm, and you do tend to feel sick afterwards, although it's worse after the second shot. And I was like talking to her about this, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll just wait until I have a weekend with nothing planned, which probably would have even been this weekend, and get my shot on like a Friday at Walgreens. And then she said, oh no, we're going to give you your shot today. So Wednesday, I sat huddled under a blanket and shivered and ached and was miserable. I am better today, although my arm still hurts. So that did affect my reading a little bit, and I will get to that when I get to what I am currently reading. Other things going on this week. Last night, I watched the first 2 episodes of Lessons in Chemistry on Apple Apple TV. Oh man, I am one of those people who's very wary of book adaptations because I just like the book better. I tend not to watch a lot of adaptations, but this one I really wanted to see mostly because there is no better casting for the role of Elizabeth Zott than Brie Larson. And Brie Larson plays Elizabeth Zott in this. And all I have to say based on the first 2 episodes is it's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. It's so far very true to the book. There is a secondary storyline that's put in for one of the neighbors, but it's fine. It fits. It's great. The only thing that has not yet happened, which I'm kind of like, if they can't do it well, I don't want it to happen at all. But we have not yet heard any narration from 630. So unless they do it really well, I don't even want to see that. That's okay. That's a book thing. My arm's like, ugh. Anyway. So if you have Apple TV, highly, highly, highly recommend Lessons in Chemistry. They say it drops on Fridays. It actually drops on Thursday nights, like 5 o'clock our time. So 8 o'clock Eastern, you do the math. Really good. It's perfect so far. It's only the 2nd episode, so, things could change. So yeah, as I said, the kids are off from school today. So provided they actually get dressed, which is a big if, we're going to go do our monthly Pals trip. I have a couple books I want to look for, but I'm going to try to control myself. I've done really well with book acquiring so far this month, but I also know that's going to go out the window at the end of the month when the library book sale is. So I'm trying to keep it in check up until that point, but there are a couple books I'm going to be looking for. And then the kids want their ice cream afterwards. So that's what we're going to do. And with that, I am going to get into the books. So last week I was able to finish 5 books. The first one I finished was my best friend's Exorcism, which is buried. Oh, it's right here. Here it is. I still have it. I have it because I'm going to give this copy to a friend to read. My best friend's Exorcism. I did a video on this I compared this to the adaptation. Let's talk about adaptations that are not good. There's one. And I'll probably do a book versus adaptation of Lessons in Chemistry when the series is over. But yeah. So I put that up and I realized a lot of people told me they really hate Grady Hendrix. And I was like, okay, there you go. That's fine. I understand. I actually do. I think he is quite an acquired taste. I like his sense of humor. However, I'm basing that all on one book, but this might be the only one of his books I like, so we'll see. And a lot of this was nostalgia, but I did really like the friendship aspect of it. The next book I finished was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and my notes on that were, I am never eating mushrooms. That is a book of spore, so horror with spores. Yeah. And I know some people, I personally don't have a problem with spore, mostly because I don't like mushrooms. I don't eat them. But I know some people do. And the only other like spore book I can talk about is Mexican Gothic. And I thought this was worse as far as like graphic mushroom fungi things. I don't know. But besides that, it's pretty good. It's retelling the House of the Fall of Usher. The Fall of the House of Usher. That's the title. Which I've never read, so I can't compare them. Although I probably should read it because like the series is coming out, so we'll see. I don't know if I can fit that in this month. What I thought was interesting is on Goodreads, this is listed as an LGBTQ book, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I think it's because in there are different pronouns used, and I think, but it's not like it's a he or a she or a they. Like, it's not like there's a different gender. They're talking about a language, and in the language, there are just different pronouns based on your stage of life and what you do as an occupation. And so that doesn't really ring as LGBTQ to me. I don't know. That was just an interesting thing that I was kind of puzzled by why people would say it was that. There's really no romance in it. There's nothing to do it either way. I don't know. There's a sequel of it coming out in February, so who knows? Maybe it will turn out to be. I don't know. The next book I finished was The Daughters of Block Island by Christa Carmen. So this was a NetGalley book, and I did write a review up on NetGalley, and I put a review on Goodreads. I am not doing a standalone review of it because I did not like it. It starts with one sister who realizes, so one sister Blake, is that right? No. Sister Talia gets a letter from this woman named Blake who says, by the way, I'm your half sister. Your mom is my mom. And she's younger. So she's like, that's weird. I don't remember my mom having a baby. And then you see what happens to Blake, which is not a spoiler, but she dies. She's killed, maybe by a ghost. Who knows? And then Talia goes to find out what's going on in this little town in Rhode Island, or little island off Rhode Island. I don't know. It's trying really hard to be a Gothic book, and I know that because it keeps saying Gothic book. Gothic. There's all these things about rules of being in a Gothic book, and she tells you this over and over and over again. However, if you were to take any of those mentions out, it would not feel Gothic at all. Like, it's just not a Gothic book. The other thing that really bothered me is Talia, who's really the main character, is a lawyer. And she is the stupidest lawyer I have ever seen. A lot of the things that she goes to discover, she does all these like amateur sleuthing stuff to discover. As a lawyer would know, she could find this through perfectly legal and administrative ways. And even if she weren't that kind of lawyer, for some reason, and I have it in my mind, that she might have been like a contracts lawyer or something. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. But even if you're not in the sort of field of law that deals with sort of stuff, you know people who are. And so the whole book seemed ridiculous to me. And yeah. So don't recommend. Sorry. And then I finished The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. This is a haunted house book. It's a true haunted house book about a governess who goes up, a woman who goes up to be a governess to a girl in Scotland who does not speak. And her brother and her previous governess had died, and there's hauntings and there's all sorts of things going on. It was fun. Like, there's a lot I liked about it. It definitely was kind of haunted, spooky. That's great, what I was looking for. But the pacing was weird. It peaked too soon in the narrative. So like it had this great big peak. And then I'm like, why are there still pages? Why am I still reading this book? Because it should be over by now. And then more stuff happens. And that really, really negatively affected the book for me. But other than that, it was an enjoyable read. And then finally, at midnight, last night / this morning, I finished The Last Remains, the last Ruth Galloway book. I am now complete with the Ruth Galloway series. I'm a little bit heartbroken because I love that series, but I did really enjoy this last book. I thought the mystery was really strong. It did a really good job of bringing things back from previous books and tying up a lot of strings. And then the overarching plot comes to basically the accepted conclusion, but it comes to in a way that is appropriate for this book. So I'm going to be very vague here. The overarching plot of this book is one that I was interested in reading, but I was also troubled by. And even going into this book, I wasn't sure how I wanted it to end. And I think had it been handled differently, I would not have liked the ending, but it was handled well. So I did like it. So that's what I finished this week. As for what I'm reading now, I'm going to start with this book here. The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. This is the Victober group read, and this is the book that has suffered from me being sick. Only because, it does require a little bit more concentration, and concentration has not been great for me for many days this week. And so I am behind. I am not going to finish this book in October. I can tell you that now, but I will chip away and finish it. It might be November. Heck, it might even be December when I finish this book. I will finish it. I think in my last video, I sounded really down on this book. I will say I'm enjoying it more. I'm liking it more than it sounded like in that book. Last week I wasn't feeling well, so I was kind of down on everything, but yeah. So this one, I might not read any Trollope after this, but I am definitely going to finish this. Lots of people, lots of money, and lots of marriage proposals. The other book I'm reading is, my bookmark got stuck. The Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I really like The Hacienda, but I am going into this one with lowered expectations because I've heard a lot of people talk about how this isn't really horror, it's more romance, and there needs to be more vampires. I'm like, okay, so I know what to expect. It's a nice kind of lighter read next to The Way We Live Now. So again, not that far into it, but that's what I'm reading now in print. An ebook, as I said, I finished The Last Remains last night / this morning, and I will be starting Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane today. That's one that's been on my immediate TBR, and it's kind of perfect for the season, and it's short. So I'm going to read that next, and I'll start it tonight. And then on audio, I am still listening to None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. That book is kind of bonkers and kind of not. It is kind of the typical single white female like trope, even though they're not single, neither one of them are single, but you know what I mean? That idea of, yeah. But I'm not sure where it's going. So we'll see. I am over halfway through it. So I think we're going to get to the point where a lot of things start happening really quickly, pretty soon. As I said, I am listening to this. I think this is a perfect book to listen to because there is a podcast element to it. There's two different main narrators, which are the two women, and then there's other people who narrate some of the other parts. So it's full cast. And I think it's working really well. I'm glad I'm listening to it. And I have not read it, so I can't say it's not a good experience reading, but I will say it's a very good listening experience. Now, I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 short story collections going. I just received yesterday my copy of Roman Stories by Jhumpa Lahiri, and I'm not letting myself start that until I finish at least one of these. But if anyone has read Roman Stories, if you could let me know if that is like interconnected short stories, because I kind of looked at the way the book is set up in the table of contents, and it kind of seems like it is to me. It's going to make a difference in how I choose to read it, is why I'm asking. So if someone could just let me know if it's just like straight short stories, like Interpreter of Maladies was, or if it is interconnected short stories, I'd really appreciate it because I do want to know how I should probably read it. But as for what I have going now, I still have Hateship, Friendship, Courtship, Loveship, Marriage by Alice Munro, and it looks like I have 4 stories left in this. Enjoying it. I will probably read more Alice Munro after this. This is a really good collection, and I'm really enjoying her writing. And then I'm sorry, I'm going to try to keep books from toppling over on me here. The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So this is sort of my classic. The good news is that the stories in this are really short. The bad news is because they're really short, there's a lot of them, and I still have quite a ways to go in this book. But I'm enjoying it. It's a nice it's different enough from the rest of the books that I'm reading that it's a nice little break when it comes up in the pile. So I have these in a pile. I'm just like reading the top one, putting it at the bottom, and rotating up. And by the way, I'm showing these from top to bottom. So, and then I have Talking About Different, Skin by Roald Dahl. I have several stories left in this one, but they're not very long. It's a little bit disturbing, not gonna lie, but they're readable and they're interesting, so I am enjoying it. I still have Never Whistle at Night, an Indigenous dark fiction anthology, which I am really enjoying. I just read, what did I read this week? I read something by Conley Lyons. I don't know anything about that author, but I like the writing style, so I might look into it. These are really good stories. I highly recommend this, even though I've only read 3 so far. Yeah, but it is quite long. I'm expecting to take this probably to take me well into November, which is fine because November is Indigenous Peoples Month. So it fits for both October and November. Oh boy, this is going to fall over. And then I have Saints and Sinners by Edna O'Brien. She's really interesting because she does kind of approach each of her stories a little bit differently. Sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm enjoying this Irish lady. I have several stories left in this one, so it's going to be around a while. And then let's talk about weird. This book is weird. I was going with the weird for a while. I'm kind of not going with the weird anymore. I have 2 stories left in this one. Part of me just wants to sit through and read them and get it done so I can get this away and then leave this book in a little free library. I had a friend I thought I might give this book to, but I don't even think I'm going to do that because I think it would be too weird for her. This is going to a little free library when I'm done. And I don't want to say that it's a bad book. It's just, it's a little bit over the line for me. But there were stories in this I really liked. And there are other stories where I'm like, ew. So yeah. Yeah. If you want to read Sayaka Murata, read Convenience Store Woman. It's not nearly as weird. And then finally, and this is the one I'm probably enjoying the most so far, I have The Angel of Rome by Jess Walter. It looks like I have like 5 stories left in this, but 2 of them look pretty short. I read this really great story in here just yesterday, I think, called Town and Country, which was about this guy who's basically a caretaker for his father, who is widowed and he is facing dementia. And part of the way his dementia presents himself is that he's very horny. And it starts with, yeah, it just is. And so, yeah, he's an interesting guy. But anyway, it's gotten to this point where the son realizes he cannot take care of him anymore. It's a case where the father's suffering dementia, but physically he's quite well. So he's able to do things like walk out of the house and go wandering and get himself into dangerous situations. So the son's like trying to find some situation for him. And they go to different like memory care facilities. And it's very clear that this is not going to be a situation that's good for their father, because their father likes to smoke and drink. And he's not ever going to stop. And he's getting very frustrated. And then one day a janitor pulls him aside and he's like, there's a place up north called Town and Country. That's where you need to go. So he researches into it and he finds this place. He says it's way up. This takes place in Boise. So he says it's way up in the north part. So like the real thin part of Idaho. So I'm guessing it's by Coeur d'Alene. So he goes up there, and what it is, it's like a 50s motor lodge that's got fenced around and there's people walking about, and it's not like a care facility. It's where they've recreated like the 50s and 60s, and people just live there to live out their lives. And they will do things like crush up their medicine and put it in drinks for them, but they don't provide any medical care or anything like that. And it's a very interesting sort of take on it. I probably said too much about it than I should have, but it's a really good story and I really enjoyed it. Laughed out loud several times in it, which is kind of sad when you think about the topic of it, but it was just done so well. Jess Walter is fantastic. Jess Walter's great. So that's my reading for this week. We'll see what, my pile's falling over. We'll see what next week brings. I hope I stay well, because man, I don't want to get sick again. That was not fun. Anyway, I am, by the way, very behind in commenting and on that. That just happened when I was sick. I'm sorry. I'm going to try and get caught up this weekend. But we'll see. So thank you very much. If you made it this far, go ahead and give me a pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern or some Halloween-y emoji. And thank you. I will see you in the next video. Feel free to join my Patreon, or not my Patreon. I don't have a Patreon. My Discord. The information is down below. It's free. Just the information is down below. It's just an easier way to have conversations than in the comments on YouTube. So yeah, go ahead and feel free to join it. I would love to see you there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.